Welcome, everyone, to episode 3 of the Stellar Fusion podcast. Today, I'm joined by RobandDan's very own Dan. Can you give us a little background on the origin of RobandDan? Actually, for your
Oh boy, how much time
name?
do we have?
As much time as you need. I'm here. I'll
Okay,
sip my
so
coffee.
I'm gonna give you the quick 5 seconds. That's gonna turn to probably 5 minutes. We're going back to 2005.
Oof. Okay. Yeah.
We're winding it back. I started doing a podcasting on a station called WoW Radio, which was World of Warcraft radio. I was a huge Warcraft nerd from the time Orcs and Humans came out. It was freaking crazy. It was freaking nuts.
Okay.
I ended up doing that for about 2 years. I met a guy called Rob, or Macabre guy. We split off from the station in 2007, did our own podcast network for a while. I actually worked in terrestrial radio for about 4 years during that time period. So I was engineer, operator, newsreader,
okay.
morning show host.
That's awesome, though.
PSA recorder, programming, pretty much everything. Took a short break in 2012. We come back with Twitch instead of podcasting, and that's when we established RobandDan. Originally, it was the RobandDan Show, all one word as a Twitch username, and we're like,
right.
This isn't working. So, cut it down, make it simple. We run forward with it, and we get to be a part of a lot of really good teams.
Yeah.
Which are part of Would You Kindly right now, and it works out well. We get to do a lot of game releases. We get to do a lot of early access stuff. It's a lot of fun. So now we stream every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Mondays at 10 a.m. Eastern. So none of you people are going to be watching ever.
I watch.
Holy crap, early.
I watch.
Oh, on the rare occasion when you're awake from the
rare occasion. Okay. All right.
I don't blame you. No, here's the thing. I joke about it, but I'm dead serious. I don't blame anyone for saying, why do you guys stream so early? What are you doing?
But it's your job, right? So it's those hours make sense for you, so that's perfectly fine. I feel like that works. I mean, you set your hours. Hey, you have a following that does watch you. That's time.
So critical. That's so critical. Whenever people ask me, "Hey, Dan, can I get a piece of advice?
Yeah.
Get a piece of advice?"
Yeah.
I always say, set your schedule.
It is, honestly, I'm the worst. My stream will also constantly say that I am the worst at keeping to a schedule. But sometimes you just need to take a day off, right? And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Sure. This is me just defending myself and my behavior.
No, as long as you communicate that. As long as you communicate that in normal channels, that's what matters.
It's also really hard because I have some followers on Instagram, some followers on Twitter, some people are strictly just on Twitch. So it's how do I get it out to everyone, So that's really tough. But anyways, we digress. Thank you so much.
Digress? What does that even mean?
It looks like you're looking at me. That's great.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Are you up there for me?
Yes.
Oh, crap, you're right.
So Dan is based in Boston. So we recently met at PAX East, which he got to do a lot of game previews as well. So that's when we met up, and that's how we kind of got linked up. I mean, we got linked up last TwitchCon when we had Would You Kindly dinner. Yeah.
And we spent a majority of that time talking about classic stuff. I felt like.
Yes, which I have not played much of, but
That's okay.
Speaking of games and them turning into more real things, though, more realistic, world-ish counterparts, let's talk about this story that I thought was really weird. Last week we talked about NBA players taking their season virtually into NBA 2K20, so they have their players with their stats in game, they have them playing around as NPC, and they just pit two teams against each other, which is really funny. But now pro drivers have turned to virtual racing as real motorsports stop in the wake of coronavirus, which is kind of crazy, right? The amount of esports that is being turned around so quickly with all these different teams getting put out of business or put on hiatus for now. Even professional race drivers are being told, hey, why don't you go to virtual racing? I don't know, man. I never imagined that sort of thing would happen.
It's tough to picture someone who is so heavily invested in an actual physical machine such as like let's take racing for example, because basketball I can kind of imagine what's going on, but when it comes to something like racing, where these are professional drivers who are used to handling these, you know, incredibly expensive, incredibly dangerous machines, and suddenly
yeah, I know. Now you have a controller.
I'm glad that they're doing this. Trust me, I'm glad they're doing this. But at the same time, it's like, this has nothing to do with your area of expertise at all, does it?
Yeah, because like it's like last week we talked about, well, it would be really funny if the actual basketball players were controlling their, you know, in-game counterparts. I think that would be super funny. But at the same time, you know, that wouldn't be really fair, because what if some person just really sucks at video games, but they're really good at basketball in real life? And I feel like that's kind of the same thing here with racing. Like, what if these people have never touched like a controller or even like a wheel-based controller in their lives? Like, how do you expect them to convert, you know, in such a short amount of time?
and I can imagine some people saying, well, get the full setups, get the rigs where you have the wheels, you have the pedals. It takes a level of expertise to calibrate them correctly to feel realistic.
Oh yeah.
That I can count on one hand the amount of people I personally know who know how to do that.
Yeah,
it's so hard.
It has so much, unless you just flat out buy one of those like arcade rigs. But even then, that's totally, it feels like an arcade game, which is really funny. So we have a quote from the NASCAR vice president. Until we have cars back on track, the entire NASCAR community has aligned to provide our passionate fans with a unique, fun, and competitive experience on race day. Our longtime partners at iRacing, which is the trailer I'm showing off now, offer an incredible product, and we're excited to see how many of our best drivers will stack up in the virtual domain of competitive racing. So it's not like they have their stats of their digital counterparts in the game. They're actually racing themselves, which is very different from NBA 2K20, where they're having, you know, their players who have already the stats built in, they're having them just play against each other as NPCs. So they're actually like participating, and maybe it won't be counted as official competition. Maybe they'll start their own esports league for this, which would be really interesting to watch, actually. But I don't know. How do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel about this like switch over? This, I mean, I guess it's a good way to keep the fans interactive. But how do you feel about that?
So I have a couple different directions I'm going to take this. The first one is good on them for staying active when at the same time we need to kind of keep that distancing going on. We need to keep that.
Oh yeah.
You know, we need to quarantine at this time. So good on them for making an effort. That's the first thing I'm going to say in any kind of situation like this. The second thing is I want to know how in-depth the controls are, because the controls make the difference in this situation. Are they in actual vehicles that are, you know, wired up to feel like they're actually driving?
Yeah.
Do they have rigs? Are they on controllers? What are the control schemes going on? So that's my second thought. And my final thought is, where is then the money coming in? Because this could evolve into another subset of the racing industry. I don't see anything bad about this inherently. I want to know where it goes. I want to know what people are involved. Do they have official announcers? Do they have, you know, crews that help with the electronics? What are the actual business aspects of this, and are they sustainable?
Right. Yeah. Like, this is great during a hiatus. And Tibble comments saying we can have a virtual pit crew game now. I would watch that.
I played enough house flipper and
sort of
cleanup detail to do that. I would absolutely do that.
I just think that'd be so fun. Like, the fastest pit crew team wins, you know? So I guess this series using iRacing, which is actually a subscription-based racing game. I've never heard of it. I'm personally not into racing games because I can't control cars very well in video games. It's so hard. Like in GTA, I'm always like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna go everywhere. This park, now a driveway. But yeah, so now it says that they're going to broadcast this actually on Fox Sports Live.
Okay.
Like, that's one of the places. It's going to be on Kayo, supercars.com, and social media channels for Supercars, and even on Twitch.
So here's Here's what I love about this more than anything else, and I'm gonna rub this in people's faces. A couple years ago, when ESPN started showing 1 or 2 esport things, like I remember when I was still living in Iowa like 4 years ago, and ESPN had just started showing some CS:GO events.
Oh.
And people were mocking it viscerally. Just,
oh my God,
just
yeah.
Hate. And people were just plastering it. And now we're here where NASCAR itself is embracing this and then showing it on major networks like Fox Sports.
Yeah, I think that, so I had someone ask me a question at work where it was like, do you feel like esports could ever live up to real sports? Like that sort of fandom. And I feel like it's already kind of there. You can't compare the two because normal sports, like casting has been around for forever, but esports is kind of a new thing because people started generating more interest. So I feel like you can't really properly pit them against each other, but clearly with the way that people have been, you have thoughts on that. Okay.
I have a very specific example.
Okay,
I have a very specific example.
I would love to hear it.
So take something that was tried and true for generations, which is the casting for Cubs baseball. Okay. I know this is super specific. No one's gonna know what I'm talking about for this first part. Do you know StarCraft and StarCraft 2 by chance?
Yes, of course.
So pit any of those people and compare them to Tastosis, the quintessential casting duo of all time, in my opinion.
Okay.
Artosis and Tasteless are professionals. They entertain. They've had a following for easily a decade and a half at this point, maybe longer. As a casting duo, they could go into almost any business that they want to market to and say, hey, this is our stacks of credentials and resumes. Work with us. So I definitely think that not only can esports compare and stack up against them, but at times they can outlive them.
That's a really strong point. I think that it's been growing, especially since more people have been delving into gaming in general. Like like the Nintendo Switch makes it very casual for like families to get involved. And then once they start to learn different games, they're just like, oh, this is actually, not what I thought it was stereotyped to be. And then especially with, I'm bad at Fortnite, so I can't say, anything about that. But the thing is, like, even with the rise of Fortnite, like 13-year-old kid Booga, he pretty much won his like entire scholarship for college if he wants to go to college, right? Like, it is becoming so much more mainstream and so much more socially accepted that I don't see why it can't blow up to be on the same level as like broadcasted sports. So it's interesting though, because like growing up, I definitely was like, oh, gaming's for nerds, but now it's just like, hey, that's kind of great.
Literally anyone can go home at the end of the day, sit down, play a game or 3, relax, and decompress for the next day. Literally anyone.
It's so great. Nighthawk says, and now you're one of them, Stella. Yes, I am. I am a proud nerd, okay? Yes. My day-to-day life is just as if I was in lockdown. Except for I like to go out to go to the gym, but now I'm here, so I just play more games. What are you gonna do?
Where you gotta survive. But you do have so many good opportunities in front of you where you're at. It's like you can't not take pride in it. You can't not live through that, because you especially I feel like you have the opportunity to, in your day-to-day, be an intellectual about video games, and that's actually something completely different from just being in an esport business. Being an intellectual means you're having discussions about them, you're exploring these ideas, you're exploring new concepts, and trying to push certain boundaries. That's a huge thing.
I think the great thing about gaming that not a lot of people realize is that it can be a really good educational tool. Like, especially with Fortnite and building, and before it was Minecraft, they actually had Minecraft in classes teaching kids, hey, this is how you wire circuits, like in the game. This is how you get things to be built. This is how you measure things. And people don't realize how big of a tool that is. Especially since growing up, I was only allowed to play like PC, educational games, like Freddy Fish, Pajama Sam.
Mavis Bacon, Number Munch.
Oh my God, and Zoombinis. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
My roommate Kat, favorite game ever. Easily.
Really?
I've seen her play Zoombinis.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Oh my god, that game
in the last
haunts
6
me.
months, I would say.
That game haunts me. I'm not gonna lie. Because I was just like, what are these blueberry looking things? What are they doing? Why do they need my help? What are you? But speaking of more gaming news, so GDC was postponed earlier this month and now has summer dates. So GDC has announced that GDC Summer, which is the new title, will be held August 4 to 6 at the Moscone Center in San Francisco, California. So still the same place, just moved way further down the line. GDC Summer will, quote, retain the same high level of expert-led talks as the traditional GDC. There'll also be a new series of micro talks and fireside chats, as well as a dedicated space for comprehensive career development sessions, which is pretty great.
Yeah, this is exciting.
Yeah. Honestly, I was very surprised to hear that they had suspended GDC, but honestly, after the most recent events, I was like, this is very smart. I don't think E3 has made any plans to reschedule yet, or they haven't made any announcements quite yet.
I have very specific thoughts on this.
Yes, please. This is what this is about. Give me your specific thoughts.
I'm so glad GDC is coming. It has a new dates.
Mm-hmm.
I could easily see a lot of developers look at E3 at this point and say, I mean, that's money we really didn't need to spend in the first place.
Right.
Like, I'm a big fan of what E3 was a decade ago.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a decade ago, E3, when it was still closed to the public, it was still a lot more about informational press releases and press conferences versus the actual showcases.
Right.
Which really, you don't get any real information. You don't get any facts.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you get a couple drippings of, a date here, a price point there, or this is someone who's going to be in something. But you don't get a sheet of factual information and you get to run with it.
Yeah, I honestly, so I went to E3 in 2017, I think, and it was still, I forget if that was the first year that it had opened to the public. But it was fairly quiet. Even if it was open to the public, I think not a lot of people could afford the tickets. And I kind of liked the quiet experience because most people were just experiencing it through live streams, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of it was just for developers to come around, for news outlets to come and like get different game demos out and publish it to the public, which I honestly didn't mind E3 being closed to the public because I thought it kind of gave that feeling of exclusivity, that feeling of, oh, what can we expect next? Like, what's going to come out? I want to be surprised, right? As opposed to just having everything leaked immediately just because people were there and taking pictures of everything.
Yeah. And I'm going to say something that's going to make me sound like an absolute dick. And it's an absolute dick.
Mm-hmm.
I know it is. The public the E3 was a conference where it was a good thing that the public wasn't involved because the public is very reactionary. It's very, I have to get this now and I have to talk about it right now and I have to do this right now.
Right.
Whereas if it stayed a conference for the electronic professionals, you know, the people in those industries, it's more digested, it's more thought out, it's more of that intellectual discussion of the people who are working on the day-to-day.
Yeah.
That's really big, and I thought that was so important. And even as soon as like 2016, 2017, the press conferences started feeling really what I call fluffy, where it's all fluff, no fact.
Right. Yeah.
And that I really was struggling with that for a while.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of content creators don't understand that sometimes some of the demos that they are given aren't full builds either, which, you know, then leads into this whole discussion of games releasing as beta, which I have thoughts on that we covered last week. But I think that's also a huge difference between people who are part of the news outlet that understand that these things aren't finished, that they're getting an exclusive look, that they are extremely privileged to have this opportunity, whereas content creators who might be invited or like bought their tickets might take that for granted and, you know, make early judgments that aren't exactly fair.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not trying to say that any one person out there dumb and they shouldn't be there, and it's just horrible that this person said this. And that's not the direction I'm going for, and that's why I'm worried I'm sounding like an ass when I'm saying this.
No.
But it's that lens of, we all understand the process that game devs have gone through to get to even to this short point.
Right.
We're all on the same page. Yeah,
we're trying to say that no one is entitled here. Like, we should all respect each other, and sometimes that's kind of lost within the whole, like, process of, I'm here, so I'm better than everyone else, right? Like, that's totally not what it is. We're supposed to be here to spread what we know of what's coming out, what tech we've seen, what games are coming out, to properly give the public that knowledge, and also to deliver our opinions respectfully and professionally, which sometimes doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the biggest thing.
I think, that is absolutely the biggest thing.
So GDC tickets, expo and conference passes can be purchased for a reduced price before July 10th for $99 and $299 respectively. They aren't sure if tickets will be refunded if the event is canceled or postponed again, but I think they're waiting on official statements, so that'll be interesting. I do hope this stuff kind of dies down by the summer, but I know that they're kind of expecting it to come back in the fall.
I will say I do have one concern about this, and it's that GDC isn't the only one I've heard possibly doing this. I've heard a couple others are discussing the possibility of moving to a September, October, November timeframe.
Yeah.
This is going to backload the entire year. So stuff that happens at the later half of the year, like PAX West, TwitchCon, everything's going to start getting muddied together, and people are going to have to make some hard choices.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough. Not only are people having to move or like having to reschedule their flights and stuff, like they might not get refunds for that, which is really hard. I actually had a Spartan race for next month that I'm trying to see if I can get it refunded, because I'm not traveling anywhere right now. But you know, it's tough because they're like, yeah, you can probably push it to another date. And I'm like, but when though? We have no idea when this is going to blow over. I'd rather everyone stay safe. So it's really hard because we kind of are living in an unsure time right now.
Yeah. And I've heard horror stories from airlines and from Airbnbs and all these different companies that do this scheduling, and they're simply unwilling to do any refunds. And it's just like, really? Right now?
Yeah, in a time when we need humans to be decent to one another, it is seemingly more difficult to find that, even in hard times like this.
I'm not going to get into it, but there were some choice tweets this morning because I heard some really bad news over the last day or so. There were some choice tweets this morning.
Okay, we can probably get into that. I mean, look, I'm always about talking shit, so I have very spicy takes, as you know. So
I'm not going to name names, but companies, whether they're, housing or whether they're utilities trying to collect bills right now. There is a hand gesture that I would love to make right now that I'm not going to, that, oh boy, they deserve.
Okay, so this actually, you set this up perfectly for me.
Oh dear. Oh no.
So let's talk about the next thing that we had on the docket. You ready for this? Because I have some fucking words about this. GameStop has said that it deems itself an essential business. Why? Because they sell things like webcams and computer peripherals that might come in handy for people who work from home. And you know what? They said that they gave their employees a letter to show police officers when they came to the stores to tell them to shut down, that this is why they're deemed essential. And I'm like, if you need a letter to your employees to give to police, you are not essential. This is not that important. Like, oh my, it blows my mind. Is this one of the companies that you had a lot of thoughts on? I see you shaking your head a lot, so.
So I heard about this the other day, and we ended up. We talked. Rob and I talked about this on stream for maybe about a half hour. There is no justification why a 19-year-old kid should be going out right now to work at a GameStop. There is no justification. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. We have a quote from a game advisor at a GameStop, actually. And it says, that's absolutely ridiculous. If someone's trying to work from home, they don't want the $85 Razer keyboard we have or the $60 Razer mouse. Some cheap $20 Microsoft something is going to get them by just fine. They have that at Walmart. They can get any of those at other stores that also have groceries and are arguably much more essential to being open right now. That is such a good point, because I think GameStop is just being incredibly selfish right now because of the 2 games that just released, Doom and Animal Crossing, which I know they definitely kept their stores still open for. And they said they sold games earlier to stagger the crowds, but that's not enough.
Guess what GameStop didn't do, by the way, before they did that?
What?
Check with Nintendo or Bethesda?
Really?
Yeah.
No way. I thought that was already approved, because I was like, there's no way they're doing this. Yeah, there's no way. I would not make that ballsy of a move unless it was approved. No. Because you definitely want that business later.
To people first.
Yeah, because you definitely want that business later, right? Like, what happens if they're already kind of on the slower side of business right now. I wouldn't be trying to wreck any relationships that I have left.
So, from what I understand, both ZeniMax and Nintendo America are looking at possible legal options if they want to exercise them.
Really?
I could see them not. I could see at least, I could see them both doing it as well, though. I could see both companies doing it.
I kind of hope they do, though, honestly, just so that GameStop understands that they are the bad guy in this on all ends. Like, not only are they keeping people from resting at home and staying away from coronavirus, they're being so selfish. They're all about the money. I get that you want to save your business, but this is about keeping a global pandemic from spreading even further. Mm-hmm. That is more important than how your sales do right now. Because, like, guess what? Everyone's suffering.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason that they should be a special case.
There's no justification. GameStop isn't special. Honestly, I'm really glad that a lot of the people that at least I have direct contacts with in Twitch have ended their relationships with GameStop, because I don't feel comfortable working with anyone who works with GameStop by choice like that. Like, I understand the people who have their jobs there, they need those jobs. People who work at GameStop, on the day-to-day, they need those jobs. But promoting them, working with them for marketing purposes, makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So
it's just about being a decent human being to another person, and I feel like whoever made this decision was, kind of sitting at home, just being like, you know what? Yeah, this is fine. We'll make this decision. It'll work out.
I need to dispel one rumor about it, though.
Okay.
I need to dispel one rumor, and that's Freddie, the Nintendo guy, the Nintendo of America president.
Oh,
Reggie.
Yeah. Freddie. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh no.
That's not good.
That's not gonna be good.
No, Reggie doesn't work there yet on the board. His
he
doesn't open up until the 20th of March.
Right.
April, rather.
Yeah, they're really hoping that his expertise will turn it around, because he is such a good person, and I feel like he's the kind of person to put his foot down when something bad happens. Like, he will turn that place around. Hopefully.
I'm hoping so. I'm really
hoping
so. Because as it is, again, I don't feel comfortable working with them as a business.
Yeah, I don't think I've supported a GameStop in forever, just because I don't agree with their ethics.
Mm-hmm. Bad choice overall. Good job, GameStop.
Yeah. There's a statement from a GameStop store leader in New Jersey, who didn't want to be identified for fear of being fired, of course, said, I think I've cried every day since Monday. I'm trying not to cry in front of my staff. I feel very much like a pawn. It doesn't matter what the staff on the ground does. They're just expendable. You never want your team to feel expendable, because fucking, like, this is their job. They put in so much effort for your company just for you to treat them like they're disposable. Like, whatever, all right, you're fine. We're over here. If you get sick, oh well. That is such a bad move. And I know we've kind of beat the horse a little bit, but it's just, I really hope they do shut down all of their stores, because there's no need for GameStop to be open at all.
There's nothing. And the fact that they're afraid of firing just because they're speaking out about how much in pain they are, whether it's emotionally or mentally.
Yeah.
No, there's a bad guy here.
Yeah, there's clearly a bad guy. You're just not willing to see it. You don't want to look in the mirror, you know? It's incredible how tone deaf a lot of these people can be. I don't, this is kind of off topic, but did you see, I think this is like saying her name, Gal Gadot, like her and a bunch of celebrities singing. Yeah. How did you feel about that?
I mean, it's something. I didn't think it was necessarily great quality, but
yeah.
I mean, it's better than doing nothing by a pretty good margin.
Yes, that's fair. It's definitely, it's not as bad as what GameStop is doing for sure, but it's still kind of on that tone of, well, we're okay. Like, they're definitely safe. They have, you know, a lot of resources. They have a lot of money. They have a lot more access to things that we don't. Like, a lot of celebrities have been able to get tested more than, you know, the normal citizens have been able to, because they just don't have the money. Yeah. So it's just kind of a down time right now, and I know none of this news is really uplifting.
I don't think we're probably not going to get a lot of uplifting for a little bit, but that's the general feel of things. That's the world we live in.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to share with you guys. Have you guys
something
seen
uplifting?
Yeah. Have you guys seen the amazing Animal Crossing and Doom Eternal crossovers? Like, that is one of the most wholesome interactions of all time. Like, I don't know why, but it makes me so excited. Because I think the reason why they were even put into a crossover was because they were released on the same day. But, like, it's so cute. I want this visual of Doom guy picking apples and, you know, planting flowers, going fishing. Dan, you got to play Doom Eternal. How do you like it so far?
So I actually have some pretty critical thoughts of it. It definitely has a very different flow and feel from Doom 2016, which I am a little disappointed about that.
I see.
The difficulty feels like it just waves constantly.
Okay.
Which I mean, I'm playing it on Nightmare, so I expect it to be different.
Oh my God.
I expect it to punch me in the face.
Yeah, of course.
It does feel like there's no consistency to it, though.
Okay.
And that kind of throws me off. There's less weapons in it, and that kind of annoys me, but they kept in all the weapons that I usually used anyhow. Like, obviously, the super shotgun. Yes. The heavy machine gun. Yes. My two primaries. So I'm told that the story gets a lot better, but starting out, you're gonna feel like, what am I doing?
Right.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
Why am I even here? What happened? Please tell me what's going on.
Really? Okay, so the start is rough. Nighthawk also says starting out was super rough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I need to get past the couple levels that I'm on right now. Apparently it gets a lot better.
Okay.
That's what Rob told me today after he got done. So apparently shit gets better, which I'm excited for. We'll see.
Interesting.
But overall, do I think it was worth the hype and the price point? Probably, maybe.
Ooh,
maybe
that sounds you sound very unsure. Okay.
I am unsure. And because I only have 8 hours in it so far,
right,
I'm loath to make an actual specific call. I want to finish the game before I make a call. But I can at least say, instead of trying to return to this is a game I do want to finish, even if I'm not necessarily enjoying it right now.
Right. Okay. Well, I guess we'll just...
The neon. There's so much neon in the game. It's something I could easily get over if it was one of the few problems. Instead, it's one of a large handful of problems.
Okay. So I remember you said that the difficulty fluctuated for you a lot, which was a big thing because you're playing on Nightmare, which is supposed to be hard, but you said that it... So how would it fluctuate? Like, would things be too easy or like overly hard?
So the game, and I'm going to put a spoiler warning out here in case anyone doesn't want any details about the game whatsoever. Do you need me to boost me up, by the way?
I got it.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to put out a spoiler warning. I'm going to talk about some of the monsters in the game and when you encounter them.
Ooh, you know what? I did hear something about one particular monster.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So they throw the spider demon, the spider bot demon at you early. I forget what it's called exactly. My brain doesn't work.
Oh, the one with like the brain that's like all exposed, that gross one? Yeah.
It has the little tail on the back. You have to shoot the tail, and then it disables part of the enemy, and you can finish him off. The Arachnotron, thank you. Yes. It throws it at you very early on when you have one gun and one upgrade. And it really feels like, okay, yeah, I get that they're trying to test you, but that's kind of the pacing all of a sudden. But right before you encounter this tough enemy that's supposed to be like this big challenge, a thing pops up on the screen and says, "This is how you beat this monster. It's really easy. Just do this." And it's like,
ooh, I hate games that hold your hand like that. Like the whole point of Doom, I feel like Doom was the kind of game when it first came out that it didn't hold your hand. It was difficult because it was meant to challenge you because you're supposed to be this guy that's just blasting through a bunch of enemies, demons, soldiers. And the fact that it pops up and tells you how to do that, that's like if a pop-up came up in a Dark Souls game.
Yeah. And now here's the thing. If that was on a lower difficulty, totally understand. Totally get it. Like, okay, if this is the initial difficulty, yeah, this is probably someone who doesn't play shooters a lot. They might need help. This is an important introduction to this kind of environment. Give them the tutorial. Absolutely. That just seems like a good idea, in my opinion. That's good game design. I was playing at the time on Nightmare. Not necessarily good game design to try and handhold someone who is playing at that peak difficulty level. And the other sin that commits is disrupts the flow of the game, which on Doom is everything. When you have to stop and read a piece of text as you see this monster has just come out at you, it's like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and relax and calm down before I shoot him. Okay, what? What's going... You can turn them off. They should be off on the higher difficulties by default.
Yeah, that's completely fair. Like, I don't know, it disrupts the flow. I absolutely agree with you, because I think I had a few games, I can't name them now, but where pop-ups would come up and you're just like, all right, I get it. Can I just please get back into this? Because it kind of pulled you out of the experience so... It's just a jarring way to get thrown out of it. Like, especially if you see this really cool big boss that's like about to tear you apart, and all of a sudden, hey neighbor, hey player, I got a tip for you, you know? It's like, okay, well, part of the magic is that you figure out how to defeat them on your own, right? That gives you more of a feeling of accomplishment, right?
Yeah. The other thing is, when you get, like, you get the Arachnotrons really early on and they start throwing them at you, which, I mean, on the highest difficulty levels, that does kind of make sense. Good, you're ramping it up early and you're keeping that pressure consistent. Okay, I can kind of understand that. Then they throw the cacodemons at you, and they're the easiest, weakest little bitches to kill on the planet.
Dang.
It feels like there is no step up in challenge. In fact, it feels like when they mix the cacodemons into the monsters that are coming at you, it's easier because it's free glory kills.
Oof. So I remember in 2016, they actually felt like a challenge sometimes. So now you're saying, do they feel like they're easier to kill in this game versus 2016? Yes. Really?
Yes,
even on Nightmare difficulty?
It was more difficult in 2016 to kill them because it was much harder to get them to gulp a grenade. It was much harder. The explosive shot from the pump shotgun didn't do it. I believe it needed to be a tossed grenade It was much more difficult to kill them in 2016.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I remember having trouble with them because like they would actually, I would hate seeing them. I'd be like, oh, it's a fucking meatball. And, you know, they would surround me and it'd be an issue. But hearing that they're not an easy, Nighthawk says way easier. That's kind of disappointing now, though, because I remember them being an issue, right?
Yes. Yeah. And the other thing is, in 2016, your grenade toss had a cooldown to it, a decent cooldown. And in this, in Doom Eternal, with your pump shotgun and your explosive shot, you can just be like, click, thunk, 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 and you have 3 dead cacodemons right there ready to go. Glory kill, glory kill, glory kill. You're back up to full health. Life is good. You literally did not sweat on Nightmare with that.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like on Nightmare mode,
I have stayed in air by chaining cacodemon glory kills together.
There should be an achievement for that, maybe? At least.
It's too easy.
I know, but to like, you know, make you feel a little bit better about it, maybe give you like a little achievement. Maybe. I don't know. Nighthawk says, I always just used a Siege Gauss cannon round to kill them. Yeah, I remember I played 2016 actually recently, and I remember having to use some of my bigger weapons on them just to get them down low enough so that I could finish them off.
They had big health pools.
Yeah.
They moved around just enough to be disruptive in a fight. You could ignore them for a little bit, but at some point you had to chunk them down. And maybe you got lucky with them swallowing a grenade. Maybe you got him. Chances are you weren't able to lob the grenade at the correct angle to get them to do it, though. And they were much chunkier. Like, they had much bigger health pools in 2016.
Yeah, again, like they were big issues for me. Oftentimes I'd be surrounded by enemies, I'd be running around, and they would be the problem for me because when I would jump in the air, they would be there waiting for me. So I would always feel trapped, but hearing this, it kind of makes me feel less threatened by them.
Oh, yeah.
So, did you get to play more today? I saw that you were streaming earlier, maybe?
So, Rob was streaming the conclusion of the game today. And it ended up taking about 6.5 hours to finish the last segment. It was a lot. It was intense. And I mean, those are good things. I wasn't playing. Again, I really don't have a desire to play it right now, and I have other things I really want to get done. So I was actually playing WoW on the side while he was playing Doom.
Oh, nice.
I don't really feel bad about that.
Yeah.
He had Doom covered. So I'm sorry. I'm not gonna say anything, but the ending definitely felt disappointing.
Okay. So do you feel like you know the game well enough to give it like a score? Like
having played through about half of the game already and watched in a full playthrough, I do. Okay. And in fact, I did score it earlier on today while we were streaming.
Ooh, okay.
I personally give it like if we're on a scale of 100, I'm saying maybe like a 65, maybe 67. It's a good game.
Yeah, that's not
It's
bad.
not Doom 2016 good.
Okay,
by
so
a long shot.
What would Doom 2016 rate for you?
91.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that is a big jump.
I feel like that, like, if the name Doom wasn't on this game with the expectation it would meet that bar of Doom 2016 in most ways, I would have probably scored it a little higher. I would have probably scored it a little bit higher. But as it stands, it's not bringing a lot to the table that its predecessor was. That's a huge mark off.
I see. Okay. I haven't played it yet. I mean, do you think it's still worth like buying it full price, or do you think I could wait? Like, okay, what score does a game have to be at in order for it to justify the $60 price for you? Like, would it have to be a 7 and above, 8 and above? Because you placed this at like a 7 or 8, right?
I'm placing this at a 6.5.
6. Oh, okay.
At the most.
Okay.
So I would say maybe wait till there's a small discount on it.
Okay.
Like maybe 15 or 20% off.
That's fair. So would you say like an 8 or sorry, like an 80 and above would be like your justification for, yeah, I'll buy this game out?
So I would say maybe like 75 or up. Maybe 75 or up. But then there are some really, I'm going to say half the time bad games. There's a few bad games that I break that rule on. So I'm loath to say an actual, I'm loath to hold that myself to that, if that makes sense.
What are some of the bad games that you've bought full price?
Oh my God. Oh, let me just go into my Steam library here.
Are they the kind of like bad games that they're so hilariously bad that you have to play them, or like you weren't expecting them to be bad?
I wasn't expecting them to be bad and ended up holding on to them because I personally like really enjoyed them. If I can click off the ones I have installed at the moment. One of the big ones is probably Osiris New Dawn, which is I see the joy in it. I see the reason why it might be good someday, but it's not.
Okay.
Like, it's really rough still. And they've done a couple revisions of the title. And I feel bad for the devs because they're really trying to throw things at a wall to see what sticks, and nothing's sticking. And they're trying. They're really, really trying. And that's kind of the reason I haven't returned it or tried to return it yet, is because I see that it could be good in the future.
Yeah.
One day.
That's fair. I mean, that's how I held on to hope with Ark, but it didn't end up happening.
Yeah, I ended up, I feel really bad for this. I ended up returning the pirate version of Ark.
I'm sorry, there was a pirate version?
Yeah, people do RP in it all the time. Technically it's not a version of Ark. It's technically a different title, but when the game released, and I don't remember the name of the game, I'm going to be honest with you. When the game released, you could hit a certain set of key commands and bring up the old Ark menu.
Wait, seriously? So it wasn't the same game, but it had the same menu. And like,
it had the same and it was made in the same engine. It had the same graphics, the same gameplay loops.
Same people,
but it was
right?
about pirates.
Yeah. Okay. It was the same developers?
Yes.
Okay.
They got away with a lot on that title.
Yeah, the thing is, like, they just had, they waited way too long. We discussed this last week, but they waited way too long to get out of beta, and then all the hype for the game kind of died out, and then no one wanted to pay full price for it because they already got it for half the price, and it wasn't all that great. So they're just like, well, what's the point? Like, if it's like this right now and it's in beta, like, what's the point of me playing it once it's finished? Because I already got a taste of what it's like, and it's taking forever to fix all the problems.
Is Ark still in beta?
I think it officially released. In fact, I think I saw some advertisements for a new DLC or something.
Because they've been putting out DLCs for years.
Yeah, they put out a new one recently. It is a 7 out of 10 on Steam, which is interesting. Yeah, they had some sort of DLC come out recently. Evolution event? Something like that.
Yeah.
But I just haven't been interested in it. I tried it once and I was like, okay, it's pretty broken. I mean, that's also when, DayZ and a bunch of like H1Z1 and all these survival games were coming out, and they were all in early access and beta. So I was like, I already have so many other games that feel more polished.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So then I just, didn't revisit it. So
this is why when people ask me why the hell I feel so comfortable giving $15 to Blizzard every month, I say, I know exactly what I'm buying with that because I already played it.
Yeah.
I have been playing it for 15 goddamn years.
Exactly.
And I to this day, I feel like every month my $15 that I spend on my WoW Classic sub is the best gaming money I can spend every month.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair because it's a continued game that's constantly being supported. There's stuff in the game that you want to play, and you know there's going to be content that comes out for it.
Yep. Yeah, like we have ZG coming up here very soon, Zul'Karub, and I'm so excited. We're in Blackwing Lair already. We're 3 of 8 bosses down in Blackwing Lair. We got a Maladath the other week, which is a very rare, unique sword.
Oh, okay.
It's this beautiful weapon.
Is that going to
Such a
help you
beautiful
with the next raid and the next?
That's the entire game loop right there. The current
okay.
raid builds up to the next raid, supports the next raid, that kind of thing.
That's really cool.
But then we have the AQ event, the Encourage event coming up here soon, which is probably the greatest thing Blizzard has ever done with a video game. Yes.
Huh.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It is an entire server effort, gathering resources of every level and make. Everything from the basic bitch stuff that level 10s are going to grind to the unique elite quests that raid guilds must complete.
I really like
it's
that.
the entire server.
That's awesome.
It's so cool.
I like how WoW really plays off of the community so much. Like, I think what I liked about Destiny was I was like, oh, cool, look at all these different dungeons and the raids that we can do. But it's not quite the same as the involvement of WoW, because an entire, like, how do you engage an entire server? For Destiny, it's mostly like interacting with strangers every so often, maybe emoting at them. And, you know, you need like 6 people for a raid, and then you go and do that. It's not like WoW where it takes, how many people does it take in a raid right now?
40 right now.
40. Yeah, that's a lot. Yep. Like, that's a lot of people that you have to manage. That's a lot of people you have to even gather to have to enter a raid. And that's not even like half the servers. So I think that's super cool. And I kind of wish I had, you know, been around when WoW was first getting into it, or first like popping up. I wish I had gotten involved, because I feel like I missed out on this really big community thing. And I know it's still going on now, but it's a lot to learn as a newcomer.
Oh yeah, no, it is a big learning. The step ups of learning are immense for Classic. They feel amazing though. Like, every next step you take feels like you've accomplished something immense, and it leads to the egos that can sometimes cause problems.
Yeah.
Because you think you're hot shit.
Right. Of course. Yeah. It's so funny though, because so Tibble says 20 good players, 20 dead weight.
I can neither confirm nor deny. I'm our guild's. Not only am I the guild leader for us, but I'm the raid leader as well.
Yeah, so you can't.
I'm not saying. Yeah. I'm not saying a thing.
It's not good for morale. Okay, so then this kind of leads into my next topic. What are your favorite games that you would recommend to people to play while in this quarantine or lockdown? I know WoW would probably be a good one, but
I think this is a great time if you have a lot of extra time on your hands. WoW is a great thing. And as it stands, Classic is only the $15 a month. You don't have to pay anything extra up front.
Which is really nice.
It's just the $15 a month.
Yeah.
If you haven't played it yet, I would say the Mass Effect franchise. The Mass Effect franchise is so beautiful, so incredibly detailed. And except for the very, very end, I have nothing but good things to say about it. Especially Mass Effect 2 is in my top 5 games of all time.
Yeah, that's the one I actually started on. Like, I started with Mass Effect 2, and then I tried to play through 1, and I was like, oh, I really like the feel of 2.
Sure. They changed the feeling big time.
Yeah.
I deal with Mass Effect 1 because I do enjoy the story. I enjoy the build-up.
Yeah, of course.
But Mass Effect 2 and 3 especially are just like, these are works of art.
Yeah.
These are incredible.
I mean, it gives you a sense of like, we've always wanted to explore space, right? And we've always wanted to interact with alien species and have these like little space ports where you can dance, have cool drinks, and, you know, just meet other people. And the fact that you're like this badass captain really helps too. So it's just like being able to get away from real life for a bit and immerse yourself in this entirely different world. And they did such a good job of building this universe that it almost makes you feel like it's real, which is so great. I love it so much.
Now, I can't talk about Mass Effect without talking about the voice acting in it.
Oh, yeah.
The voice acting in it
God.
is top tier.
It's so good.
And honestly, Jennifer Hale is the baddest bitch of all time. There is no one better. She is incredible. I honestly, too, I love Mark Meer. What I consider my canonical playthrough is a male Shep Paragon sniper. I have all of it thought out in my head already. But honestly, sometimes it feels so good to tell people to go fuck themselves with Jennifer Hale's voice.
It's so good. Yeah. So I did my first, like, I had one playthrough where I was mostly Paragon, and then the next playthrough I played with a friend, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make it a Renegade. Why not? And it's just, there's something really fun about just being able to tell people off and being like, yeah, I would never do this in real life, but I can now. And it just feels really good, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's so cool. And I don't know, has the modding community had any experience with like Mass Effect at all?
I've never really tried mods with Mass Effect. I'm going to be honest. I have thousands of hours in the franchise.
Yeah.
Thousands of hours. I've never really tried mods.
I mean, the thing is, it's so good, I don't really feel like I need to seek out mods. So, I know. It's like,
it might pull the curtain open a little further than I wanted to.
Yeah. I forget what mod. So my boss he recorded some gameplay of Mass Effect 1, I think, and he had a mod on. And I forget what happened. It's like that scene where you punch a reporter. Do you remember that? Yeah. It like broke her face though, because like the mod just so when he punched her face, it looked like a crumpled ball of paper. And we're just like, well, this is why we don't play with mods here.
Oh, good lord.
It was super funny. But yeah, I don't know. I think Mass Effect stands well on its own, even with, you know, the older games. I honestly, every time I try to go play Mass Effect 1 on PC, I have an Origin, so it kind of puts me off because I can't use my controller.
Yeah.
And I really like playing Mass Effect with a controller, so every time I go through it, I'm like, I can't really put myself through this. So I don't know. I got to figure out a way if I can plug in a controller for Mass Effect 2 or 3.
If you have Origin, so here's the thing. If you have Mass Effect on Origin, I believe you can sync up your Origin and Steam accounts to where you have it on Steam as well.
Okay.
I'm not 100% on that. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not 100% on that, but I think there's a way to do it.
Okay, because I know if you have it on Steam, I think it lets you use a controller, which is really nice. Yeah.
I can confirm that.
Yeah, because I don't know why Origin wouldn't let you do that, but that was really off-putting to me because I played Mass Effect 2 on the PS3, and that was like my first real PS3 game that I like play through so much. So I was already used to all the controls on the controller, and then having to switch over to keyboard and mouse, I was like, oh, what do I do here?
So actually, there's a story behind that with Mass Effect.
Okay.
And I'm going to keep this as short as possible, but essentially, when Mass Effect 3 was finished being developed, they announced that EA is going to have this new platform called Origin, and Mass Effect 3 and one other game is going to be on Origin, and it caused a huge stink.
Okay,
but they stuck to their guns and they leveraged Mass Effect against Steam because they wanted to promote their platform.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not
interesting. Good. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's like pre-Epic Games having their own launcher and everything too. Wow. Okay.
This is kind of when Steam was still the king of the space, was really the only one available. Stardock had their platform for a while, but I believe they had gotten bought by another company pretty recently at that time.
Okay. Interesting.
But overall, it's just Steam.
Yeah. Like Steam is still one of the big primary launchers, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they also did an offer with that to say if you had Mass Effect 1 and 2 on Steam, you could, when you bought Mass Effect 3, transfer those over, and you could have them on both Steam and Origin. So they were really trying to grab a lot of that Mass Effect crowd away from Steam.
Yeah.
And to this day, Mass Effect 3 still isn't on Steam.
Really? Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Last I checked. It's been a year since I checked. So
okay.
Maybe they changed it.
I don't know if it would really change much in a year. We can look that up right now.
If the Steam store will load.
Sparks in chat says, yeah, only Mass Effect 1 and 2 on Steam.
Yeah,
it looks like it's only on Steam. Only on Origin. Interesting. That's so weird.
Yep.
I had no idea. Oh, I learned something.
Yeah, this was when Rob and I were actually just kicking back on the podcast and the Twitch stuff.
Wow, okay. Well, those are his suggestions for, quarantine plays. And I think those are really good game suggestions. So here's one game that I don't know if many people are playing right now, but there's something funny going on in it. So Fallout 76.
Oh no.
Yeah, we talked about this last week
no.
too, but this week they have something new going on in Fallout 76. Players are hoarding toilet paper. Just as in real life. It's so funny. It's terrible, but it's really funny. So it's all a joke, but still, I guess people are displaying their toilet paper. I didn't even know they had toilet paper in the game. Like, I can't remember previous Fallout games where they had toilet paper. But yeah, apparently people are selling it for really like high prices for caps, and which is the in-game currency, and they're displaying their toilet paper in cases.
I'm sorry, I'm having an aneurysm right now.
Yeah. It's incredible. I think someone sold a roll of toilet paper as a joke. Like they cranked up the prices to like 20,000 caps, and someone actually bought it. And I think he said, "Oh man, I should have sold it for 30,000." And yeah, it's all for the maymays.
Okay.
Yeah, Sparks says Fallout 76 is truly a generational experience.
I mean, people have to find a way to have fun in there somehow, so.
It's just so funny though, because it's. Oh, the username was, this name is something else, but the username was BloodFartAus.
Oh my god! Really now?
Yeah. Yup. Yeah, another user posted a picture of a single roll going for 25,000 caps, and another user was selling it for 500 caps, which is still pretty high for a roll of toilet paper that you can't even use in the game. So it's incredible. So I think we had this discussion on a work podcast too, but it's like art imitates life. And I guess this is a way our generation is trying to cope with everything that's happening right now.
Maybe. I could certainly see that. And yes, art always imitates life. I think that's a constant right there. That's a very good point to make. I would also come at it from an angle of the people who have stuck around and are still willing to play Fallout 76 have a very unique, specific mindset.
Yes, I agree with you there about that.
It takes some mental fortitude to be still playing that game.
Yeah, especially with all the drama around it last year.
Yeah, I will put a caveat by everything I say about Fallout 76 and say I am hypercritical, not just of Bethesda's business practices, but of the game itself. So take everything I say with a very, very large grain of salt.
Yeah, last week we covered the Wastelanders update that was actually previewed at PAX, where they're adding in NPCs. You can actually romance NPCs, and everyone's like, oh, so the Fallout game it should have been. Do you think this is... I asked James's opinion on this, but do you think that this update will bring new players to Fallout 76, or do you think it's kind of already dug its hole?
I want to say there's always a chance, because if No Man's Sky can bring itself back from the brink of extinction, anyone can. However, No Man's Sky didn't pull the level of debauchery. I'm going to say debauchery.
No, that's fair.
That Bethesda has pulled.
Yes.
They've done a lot to really discredit themselves in the eyes of their community.
I can't really remember an apology or anything like standing out about their behavior that did anything to redeem what they've been doing.
I would say it's because they haven't. At least in my opinion, they haven't.
Yeah.
Maybe they have and I simply didn't notice it, which I completely am like, sure, I don't notice things.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I haven't heard or seen an apology for anything of the like.
Yeah, and even if they did issue an apology or an explanation, it definitely wasn't loud enough.
No, not at all.
Yeah, because they need to do something to offset the incredible, like, upset they've caused their players and dedicated fan base, because they completely, it's fine to take a different direction with your games, right?
Sure.
But from what I understand, the game was just incredibly hollow from the start. And they're just not with the Wastelanders update. They're adding new instances, which I guess they didn't have before. So you could go into an area, and if players had already been through there, then there'd be nothing there for you.
Correct.
Which is kind of boring. If you're in a foraging MMO game, you want there to be stuff for you to do. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, and maybe then you say, well, the point is, well, oh, someone's been here recently, track them down. But because you can always see people on the map.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Did you play the Battle Royale for Fallout 76?
I tried.
Yeah.
I tried. I've given the game opportunities.
Yes.
The game's unplayable, in my opinion.
Oh, my God. So I had to record gameplay for Fallout 76's...
Let me be the first to apologize.
I had to record that for work, the gameplay of it. I won my first game, but it's because this one guy got stuck on the bridge and then burned to death in the atomic storms. So it was really weird, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. Like, I never would have looked at Fallout and been like, yes, that's a perfect game to turn into a battle royale. Even like Call of Duty Warzone, sure, I get it. It's fun when you play with friends. I get it. It's got all the qualities of a battle royale, but Fallout 76's battle royale had no idea what it wanted to do. It's like, hey, let's kind of be like Fortnite. Let's include building, but at the same time, you got to stay mobile. So it's like, what's the point of even having the building mechanic?
And here's the really rough part. There's maybe 2 or 3 community members that orbit around us who do still play the game,
right,
semi-regularly, who play the battle royale, and who really hype it up on social media. And it makes me wonder why.
Yeah.
Why do you want to put your name behind this?
I mean, if they really enjoy it, I would really want to understand where they're coming from and their mindset, because I played some of it. I played a few levels of leveling up in the game. I would really like to understand what is so attractive about that game to them. And that's fair. Like, they might not like Animal Crossing or Doom or anything that we like, but because of all the problems that Fallout 76 has had, I'm genuinely curious, like, what the draw is.
Yes. And I feel uncomfortable pushing and poking and prodding and asking about it, because these are people who really don't have a lot of game time to spend on game.
Right, yeah.
And I don't want to make them question their decisions like that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not my place to be like, you should be playing this piece of garbage. What are you doing? But at the same time, I have to ask that question of, with the limited game time you have, why continue to invest it in this product?
Yeah.
Especially when there's free-to-play battle royales out there, Fortnite, Apex, things like that, that are honestly, even in Fortnite's case, a more complete product.
Right, yeah. I don't know. I'm genuinely interested. Maybe we could bring someone on here who is like a devout fan of Fallout 76. See, the thing is, it's so weird though, because there are devout Fallout fans, and then there's Fallout 76 fans.
Yes.
So it's very interesting.
Yeah. Now, I played the ever-living crap out of New Vegas. New Vegas?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my good lord, my heart. Like, I have a Pandora station just built around Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and Fallout 4 music.
I still need to play that. I think I have it. It's either that or Fallout 3. But yeah, I need to play that.
New Vegas is the cream of the crop. Probably the best Fallout game I've ever played.
Okay, so what would you give that a score of? 1 out of 100.
Ooh, that would easily be in the high 80s, like 87, maybe 88. The story, the environment, the world building that goes on.
Yeah.
Oh my good lord.
Okay.
Like Fallout 3 was great. Fallout 3 was great. Fallout New Vegas really took the franchise to where it showed where it could go.
Right. Okay.
Which was very strong.
I just always loved it's kind of like Mass Effect, but I always loved the world of Fallout. because they build the universe so well. There's so many different stories that you can explore within it. Like when you explore different vaults and you find out what different, experiments happen in there. That is so like, I love that. I will seriously stay up all night just reading different vlog entries or like entries for the vaults and stuff. It's so cool. So when Fallout 76 came out, I was like, oh, maybe there'll be lore. But there wasn't. And I was so disappointed because that was the biggest draw to me. The story, the universe. And now you're just like, oh, cool. I guess I can do my own stuff now. Like, I want a story to go with.
You want world building, and there's a little bit of world building in 76, but it also sometimes contradicts previous world building.
That's what I heard.
And it doesn't always match up with the other games, and it's just like,
yeah, because you want something that's consistent, especially if you're used to, like, how many games do they make? Because like with all those games in their library, you're just like, oh, I know what to expect, but all of a sudden you're thrown this curveball with like no explanation, or little to no explanation. You're just like, oh, I guess we have to accept this is how we live now.
Yeah.
Cozy Kyle asks, does Outer Worlds live up to the bar that New Vegas set?
So I wasn't a huge fan personally of Outer Worlds. I felt a lot of the weapon design was kind of subpar. They did the whole numerical, like, this is version 1 of the gun, this is version 2 of the exact same looking, exact same firing gun.
Right, okay.
It leaned a little too hard into the Borderlands.
That's fair.
Kind of game space for me.
Yeah.
That being said, though, I would definitely rank it very high because while I necessarily don't like how Borderlandsy it got, I'm not a huge Borderlands fan. A lot of people loved it. A lot of people really loved the story and world building that it created.
Yeah.
It definitely enthralled people in a way that I would expect a Fallout New Vegas-esque style game to do, to really maintain. So
yeah.
I would say it's definitely up in that same game space. Maybe not for me personally, but for in general, yes.
I really liked Outer Worlds. It definitely didn't have JD says you have to take into account that Outer Worlds doesn't follow it. That's totally fair. But comparing it to Fallout 4, it had very similar, stats that you could put into your character, similar world building, different pieces of lore all throughout. There were quite a few side quests. I think Outer Worlds was a pretty short game, though, in terms of putting it into a category of games like Fallout. I think it was a lot shorter. I remember Fallout 4, like, I spent so much time in that game, but that's also counting DLC, so hopefully there's some DLC, because if they expanded on Outer Worlds, like that universe, I think that would help that game a lot more.
It's ready for more world building.
Yes.
It's definitely ready.
Yeah, because I don't want to just go back to my previous save where, like, after you do endgame, you go in and you can do all the side quests, because I want to do more. I want to learn more about our character. Like, I know they gave us an epilogue, but maybe that's what feels not so complete. I mean, it's supposed to give you this clear ending, but I kind of like with Fallout 4, it's just like, or with Fallout, it's like, hey, open-ended, go do your thing. And then, if they decide to add on DLC, that's just like another story or another place where you can get lore of the world in. And I like that.
Sure. Yeah. I did enjoy, the endings aren't what people talk about when it comes to New Vegas. New Vegas, it's all about the branching stories and how open it is, about how there's multiple ways you can approach how you think the character that you've built up would tackle problem.
Yeah. Okay.
And while there is a little bit of that in Fallout 4 and Outer Worlds, not nearly as much as I think could have been.
Okay. JD asks, I've not played Outer Worlds, but does it have the same Fallout charm of getting lost in side quests rather than sticking to the main narrative? I would say yes, but
to a small extent, yes.
Yeah, it's definitely not as, like, there aren't as many choices.
And honestly, you're always getting rubber banded back to the story, back to the main quest line, almost no matter what, if you want to do any kind of.
Yeah.
Whereas with Fallout New Vegas, again, I'm going to use Fallout New Vegas as a linchpin comparison.
Yeah.
You can literally go off and do your own thing. You could entirely ignore
Yeah.
the quest lines entirely. You could say, I don't know what the word quest means. Someone get me a dictionary.
Yeah.
And you could get through the game just fine.
Yeah, but I like that. Man, you're making me miss Fallout 4. That's the first Fallout game that I played. So now I want to go back. Yeah, I loved it though.
Oh.
Dude, the rocket bats, so good. I upped my charisma and my strength so I could either beat people up or intimidate them, and it was great.
Sure.
I loved it.
I have to ask, did you end up modding Fallout 4?
I didn't actually. I played it vanilla.
Really? Mm-hmm. I actually thought Fallout 4 without mods was pretty boring.
Really? I loved it.
It was a little dull for me. It felt it was kind of shallow, even with the extra hard survivor difficulty turned on.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I have a couple different mod sets, including one with
fair.
over 100 mods.
Yeah, that's fair. It was my first Fallout game, so I think I just wanted to see how it felt, and I ended up loving it. I romanced Hancock because he is my sweet ghoul. Yeah, he's great. Okay, so maybe I'll give New Vegas a try.
If I could recommend a mod or two for you, I'm just gonna recommend a few.
Yes.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna keep it down. Sim Settlements. Sim Settlements is the best mod ever.
Really? What does that do?
Yes. It turns it from where you have it stops it from you having to build everything yourself to being able to set down SimCity style plots. So residential, commercial, industrial, a few other plots that help your cities grow and thrive. And you can actually set up productions for things like chems, weapons, ammunition.
Are you serious?
And you can oh yeah.
Oh my god, okay.
Sim Settlements is so good.
Why didn't I know about this when I was playing? That would have made my life so much easier.
It's one of the most popular mods.
Okay.
Also, the unofficial Fallout 4 patch. That's all. That's what it's called. It really brings in a lot of bug fixes and a lot of smoothing to the game.
Yeah.
Strongly recommend that one.
I think I heard about that one actually.
There's a few armory and weapon ones that I think are vital, but honestly, if you have those two mods, Sim Settlements, the unofficial Fallout 4 patch, you're doing yourself so much better.
Okay, cool. I'll have to look into that. I'll just double check what I have on my list for Fallout games as well. Yeah. All right. Well, I am going to close up this episode. Dan, is there anything else you wanted to tell us?
We ended up going so long.
I know. It's okay. Is there anything else you wanted to tell us about, what games people should play or your favorite game this year so far? Actually, yeah. What's your favorite game that has come out this year so far?
Favorite game this year so far?
Which has been a very short
it's been a short year, but there's been some good stuff to come out. So if I can just look back on lists of things here, I can tell you my favorite game that's going to be released on Steam this year, actually, because I've already played it.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Satisfactory. It's going to be released on Steam this year. It's been on the Epic Game Store. It's had its year on the Epic Game Store. Patch 1.3 just came out a couple weeks ago. It added fluid dynamics. It added so much more content to the game. If you guys are going to wishlist one thing on Steam this year, make it Satisfactory. Coffee Stain's an awesome dev. They're awesome people. I've had the chance to work with them directly on a couple things already. They're so much fun.
Okay, cool. I watched you play, which, by the way, Dan, where can people find you on Twitter and Twitch?
The best place to find me on Twitter is going to be my personal Twitter at Leto, Leto. We also have the RobandDan one, but that's mostly just for live notifications and whatnot. People should really go over to at Leto, Leto, to find me, my personal thoughts, everything. I tweet a lot. I'm sorry. And then, as Stella mentioned, RobandDan, RobandDan on Twitch and Twitter. That's the business side of things. We stream every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, which I know is early. I'm so sorry to everyone. We'll help you wake up and hopefully not hate your existence.
Yeah, coffee and a stream. Perfect.
Or a stream of coffee.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. This was fun. I love doing this kind of thing.
We'll have you back on, for sure. Oh, Merritt says hello.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Well, I'm going to hang up here, but thank you so much for joining us. I will be sure to message you after.
Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Bye.